streaming. Let's wait for the connection to be healthy. And it seems we are live. Okay, yeah, green light. Perfect. So welcome everybody to September Meetup. Especially, it's been a while since we've had one of these, since May, I believe, I want to think. And we have quite a few topics that I would like to cover. If Max can recover his connection, then we can. Then he will also present his work in the XTENSA toolchain, which has been recently added to Alire. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so that I can show you the different bits that are topics that I've prepared for you. So, okay, I should be sharing my screen now. Okay, I see some nods. So the first thing I would like to remind people about, though it's been publicized quite a bit, is that the Ada Developers Workshop took place over in June. That's why we didn't have a monthly meetup, as we had this workshop. And from my own personal perspective and opinion, it was wonderful. I got to meet many people in the Ada community, and also very, very interesting projects, and not only the ones that were being presented, but also the projects that other people have worked on. And the main point that I want to remind people about is that the different topics, the different talks that took place during the workshop were recorded, and the recordings are available, and also the slides of the different speakers. So you can go into the main link, which I'll put in the blog, in the forum, as always, as the minutes of the meeting, and you can just go into this link and find the different recordings and slides, plus the actual description of each talk, which brings me to an interesting point. We had a talk about HiRTOS given by Germán Rivera, which is a multi-core RTOS written in Spark Ada. And because of this talk, a very nice guy, which I also got to meet a little bit later in a Ada core workshop that they did, Oliver, he got interested in a little nice tool called Renode. I will also give links to all these different topics I'm mentioning, which is like QEMU. So it's like like an emulator, but instead of emulating complex hardware such as a computer and being able to run a full-on operating system, Renode is basically the same but for embedded systems. So it's more about peripherals, I/O, the different microarchitectural qualities of the different CPUs. Germán was running HiRTOS in Renode. He quickly mentioned that during his talk, and Olivier wanted to check it out, and he did. And well, he wrote this entire blog post about how he could run an Ada program completely simulated in Renode for this ST device. So yeah, I think this Renode is a very, very, very interesting tool, especially because sometimes we want to try out Ada in new specific fancy hardware and maybe test some tasking or something like that, embedded tasking or profiles. And we just don't have the hardware because it's maybe expensive, difficult to source or something like that. And Renode provides basically a software way of doing that work without the hardware. So I think it's fairly interesting. Of course, this has some real-time, the setup he created was running with some real-time capabilities. So once again, you can do a full system simulation, a full embedded board simulation with Renode. Although, as he points out, it's not super straightforward, especially if Renode doesn't have the support already built in for the device. But it has quite a bit of support. And I was actually checking the releases for the latest the release notes for the latest Renode release, and I noticed something very interesting. Let me find it out. Yes, as part of the official Renode since like 3 weeks ago, so since the last release, we actually now have a HiRTOS sample running on a dual-core Cortex R52. So probably Herman contributed his test setup to the official repository, and now, well, we have an Ada operating system, real-time operating system, officially as a demo, as a test inside the official Renode source code. So I think that's great, and I will talk more a little bit about this kind of activities from the Ada community a little bit later. So that's another topic. Moving on, I would like to point out an interesting fix done by Simon, who is today with us here. And by the way, you can feel free to interrupt me if you want, or if you want to say anything. But I'll just move on if there are no interruptions. Where he submitted a pull request to the SVD2Ada repository that should enable the use of dimensional register fields. For those of you who don't know, SVD2Ada is a very nice tool to get SVD files, which are hardware descriptor files of CPUs, of devices, of peripherals. It takes that file and outputs Ada code. And that Ada code serves basically as a straightforward HAL, hardware abstraction layer. And it just lets Ada run easily on pretty much any device, without the user having to actually abstract the entire hardware manually by themselves. The thing is, dimensioned registers were not supported in SVD2Ada, and newer SVD files provided by vendors or tools are starting to use them. So we had the issue that a couple of XTENSA devices and RISC-V devices, ESP devices, ESP32 devices, the SVD provided by the manufacturer were using dimension registers, and SVD2Ada was failing to properly generate HALs, hardware abstraction layers for them, but not anymore. So it has been fixed by Simon. So the fix has been contributed by him. And Max, are you with us? Is your connection healthy? Or yes, I see you're with us and your connection is healthy. Would you like to talk a little bit more about your work in the XTENSA ESP32 fixes or improvements that you've done?
Okay.
Then I'll stop sharing and you can share your screen, or you can tell us more about it.
Okay. Let me share. I don't slide to share, but I think we can just go to forum post.
Okay.
Another video.
I share the screen then.
So last month, some people expressed interest in new target for Ada. This is ESP32 chips made by XTENSA, and since 14 release, this chip is supported in GCC compiler. I mean that GCC now provides universal compiler for several chips. They have at least 3 generations, or maybe even 4. This is general ESP32, ESP32 S3, S2, and ESP. I don't remember the most older chip one, and now we can compile for all these chips with just one compiler. So I built this version of compiler with Fabian's scripts and provided it as pull request to Alire, and now Alire has a toolchain. You can install it with just one command, like any other toolchain. But then it appeared that toolchain is not enough to compile, and we need deconfig plugin for it. And so you need to clone deconfig repository and make it this one makefile command. After that, you should export XTENSA GNU config variable and point to the plugin with chip you are working. And after that, you will be able to compile. I did a small patch for BB runtimes to be able to start with BB runtimes and put it on my fork. And now we are trying to build this light version of the runtime. After that, you will have a runtime. When you run this command, you will runtime installed into our directory, and you will even try to compile a hello world. But for now, we are missing some starting scripts and vectors table for interrupt routines, and work is going on this. I built on just compiler, but more work done by other people in Telegram. You can find link in this post, and people there found good SVD files to with description of the hardware registers and prepared some hardware abstraction layer for XTENSA chips, and you will find it in the repository in the last point of this list. You can try to build it. If you want to work on this topic, please join us in Telegram or write on this topic on forum, so we don't duplicate the work. And this is what I want to say about it.
Perfect. Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Any questions regarding this topic or that you would like to ask Max? Then, moving along. Oh, yes. Yes, right on time. We have a question by Simon.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Max, is it specifically aimed at XTENSA, at expressive versions of the chipset, or would it work for any manufacturer's use of the XTENSA chip? You called it GNAT XTENSA ESP32, I think. And I'm wondering whether it has to be an ESP32 chip or any XTENSA chip would work.
No, it's just for older architecture.
Mm-hmm.
It's not included RISC-V for last chips of ESP32, such as C3. They are built on RISC-V architecture, and our work doesn't handle this. This is only so-called LX6, LX7 architecture of CPU.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much.
Well,
Any questions? Then, if there are none, I would like to remind people about the Ada or Spark Crate of the Year award for this year. It ends at the last day of this year, I believe. It would be the 31st of December, I suppose. And there are prizes for it. So it's 3 prizes of $2,000 for each category. And we have 3 categories. The Ada Crate of the Year, so just for the overall best Ada Crate. The Spark Crate of the Year prize, so for the best Spark or something that Spark program or something that contributes to the Spark ecosystem, and the Embedded Crate of the Year. So that focuses on embedded devices such as the ones we were just discussing now. So yeah, I would like just to remind people that we still have plenty of time, several months, but of course, it's good if you have an idea to get it started as early as possible, especially because there may be some competition depending on the category that you're targeting. So yeah, I think it's an interesting project. If you have an interesting project that you would like to build, you can even make some money with it if you win. So keep that in mind. And having said that, something that's also going to take a little bit of time, but I would like to bring this point already, because probably the official announcement is going to take place in the following month, in a month about, and that is FOSDEM. So as most of you will probably remember, FOSDEM we didn't have any representation in FOSDEM 2024, and so this year, and last year we only had a stand, so a large table with which we could talk to people in the hall. And that, by the way, last year was an amazing experience, and I very much enjoyed it. But that wasn't noticeable downgrade from having a Devroom just for ourselves. And this year we didn't have anything. So there is I would like to throw a question. Maybe I will open a forum discussion where I would like to have some feedback. But obviously for next year's FOSDEM 2025, we can just once again submit an application to have a Devroom. Maybe this year, after not being present for so many years, they will allow us to be there. Maybe they'll give us a stand, or maybe nothing. But there is also the possibility that we do not present any proposal at all whatsoever, and instead we can focus on encouraging people to give talks regarding Ada, related to Ada and Spark, in other Devrooms. So for those of you who do not know, FOSDEM has like different tracks, different Devrooms. Let me zoom in so that you can see this a little bit better. So this year it ranged from AI all the way to virtualization and cloud, open source design, HPC, or even a specific language Devrooms such as Go, Rust, JavaScript. They even have some licensing things, which I think it's very, very interesting. And yeah, as you can see, we have quite a few tracks, quite a few Devrooms, topics that people can talk about. And the other option is, instead of having our own Ada Devroom, that we focus on helping people get their own topics and ideas related to Ada and Spark into another Devroom. This may sound like a downgrade, but during this year's Ada Developers Devroom in Barcelona, Jeffrey Carter, who is with us today, made a good point, in my opinion. Once again, this is just my opinion. Yours may be different. Regarding that the Ada ecosystem shouldn't have its own private, let's say, conferences and Devrooms, and instead the Ada users should spread out, should communicate the goodness of Ada to other cultures, to other groups of interests. So instead of having our own echo chamber, basically, to spread it out a little bit more and reach people with the goodness of Ada. So I think that's also an interesting point to bring to the table. Once again, I would like to turn this into a discussion, probably in the forums, because I know there are diverging opinions, and obviously every decision will have its own pros and cons. But I think it's something interesting, and I wanted to bring this up already, as most likely, once again, in next month, the official announcement for FOSDEM 2025 will be made. It usually happens early October, late September. So yes, so we could, so for example, I know someone, a well-known person in the Ada community, works in automotive, and in this person uses Ada for automotive control systems. So, for example, this person, instead of giving a talk in the Ada Devroom, he could go into the embedded mobile and automotive Devroom, where he speaks and talks about why his company is using Ada, why they change, what they find to be useful or difficult, etc., etc. And these people, who are most likely not the people attending embedded mobile and automotive Devroom, who are most likely unaware of Ada, or if they know it, they know nothing specifically about it, they could get a good glimpse about it. So I think it's an interesting topic, it's an interesting discussion, and I wanted to bring it to the table. But we'll see. And once again, I think a forum post will be best to discuss this, because once again, I think everybody should have plenty of time to express their opinion and have a proper discussion. So, having said that, are there any, does anybody want to say anything now about what I just said about FOSDEM and the proposal, or would you like to move? We can have a little discussion now if you want. There is time. Yes?
So I like the idea. I'm constantly finding that people just aren't aware of Ada, or if they are, they aren't aware of what Ada offers, like in a modern sense. I'm usually getting more, I guess, positive feedback in terms of like, especially recently with like Ada 2012 and Alire and everything. And yeah, I saw the comment, people are probably just going to skip any dev room that has the word Ada in the title. But if you're in an embedded dev room and you have information talking about, a presentation dealing with how Ada can be used like for a lot of low-level applications or easily into embedded chips and everything like that, that's pretty helpful. I mean, I was just going down some of that list, and I was like, oh, emulator dev room. Well, there's been quite a few emulators from Ada recently, and it's, stuff like that. I think there's a lot that we can kind of bring to the table to these different areas to say, hey, this is what we're doing in Ada with this, and this is how, we can contribute to making, more safe and reliable code, in this, I guess, field. So the automotive idea is a really good one too. There was a few in there. I mean, even like Postgres. Something I really like about I think there's some bindings for databases. I think Ada Core puts it out, but what I really like about it is you're creating the SQL in Ada. So it's not like you're just using straight up SQL. You're actually creating SQL statements in Ada itself and to interface with the database. And I've been messing with databases lately, so I think that's a pretty unique spin on it, because you're kind of creating, I guess, strongly typed SQL in Ada to interface directly with the database. So stuff like that I think is really good. So if we can't get a dev room, safety critical dev room, that's a pretty good idea as well, because that's not just Ada, but we can get attract some other people in there too. But I like the idea.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else want to share their opinion, their point of view? The main reason I personally I would like to see more Ada in other conferences, workshops, etc. It's mostly also to spread the word, as in like make the community grow. That would be my, let's say, motivating point. There are others, but I think especially when I feel like a lot of people don't know Ada, or as you were saying, modern Ada. They have this notion of Ada being old, and they have the image of the older versions of Ada. And I think bringing the modern, let's say, Ada ecosystem to an unsuspecting audience, let's put it this way, would be beneficial to bring more people, more eyes to the community. So that is my personal point of view. But once again, it doesn't have to be the only one. I don't want to be pushy about this. Yes, Weston?
Hey, yeah, so I guess I'm on the fence about it. I definitely see good things on both ideas. I do wonder, I've never been to FOSDEM, so I don't know. So my question is, from past Ada Devrooms, did they attract like a decent number of people new to Ada, or at least who want to explore it more? If it's usually just this people who have already been Ada adopters for a while, and there's not it's not attracting a new blood, and I can see Jeffrey, I believe it was Jeffrey that he said close it. That would be a better idea than it's just spread it out. But yeah, it would be nice. I still feel like it'd be nice to go Ada different though. But again, if it's not attracting new people, then the other idea sounds definitely worthwhile.
So let's say that I'm fairly new to FOSDEM myself. The first time I took part of a FOSDEM Devroom, I was actually a speaker. That was my first interaction with FOSDEM, and it was, I believe, in 2021 during COVID. So I hadn't been ever before in an Ada Devroom. However, from the conversations I've had with people, the Ada Devroom gave the Ada community a great opportunity to meet up in Europe, and also not just for Ada people. You were surrounded by all the other nerdy guys doing their own interesting stuff. So as you've seen the rest of the Devroom, so it was a nice ecosystem to meet up. FOSDEM is a pretty laid back event. You can just bring beers wherever you want and start hacking. So it's a nice event. And I've also had a few conversations during not this year's edition, last year's edition, in the stand with people that just came by and asked us, hey, you don't have a Devroom this year and things like that. And I was told by a couple of people that they really liked the Ada Devroom because you would have, for example, Jean-Pierre giving his like very technical, very thorough explanations about a topic that most people just generally brush off. And he would go into depth into different aspects. Just yesterday, I was watching his talk in FOSDEM 2016 about the memory management of Ada and the memory model of Ada and memory management, and it was a very, very good talk. And a couple of times during the video, you can see the audience, and the room was kind of packed. There were a few free seats, but you could easily tell that there were a lot of people that weren't outsiders of the Ada community. So I think people did go to Ada, to the Ada Devroom, but my impression is that interest has dwindled recently, especially now with the rise of Rust and other newer flashier programming languages, I think people are no longer like looking into Ada. And also the people that told me that they were going to the Ada Devroom just as a good Devroom to listen to, even if they didn't use Ada, they were older people. So nobody new or young were telling me, hey, I wanted to go to the Ada Devroom. No, that didn't happen. So yeah, I think that's also important to keep in mind. Maybe older people know Ada and care about it, but I don't want to be mean, but the future is for the young people, whether you like it or not. It's a matter of time. So yeah, there is that thing. Yes, Wesley?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have our Ada people present in the other categories, just so on people that they're kind of like, oh, whoa, what's this? Like, especially, so to avoid people skipping in whenever they see Ada in the title. But I still think it's worth having a Devroom. So it'd be great, ideally, if we could have one person do Ada talk in the other categories, and then another one does the same talk or similar talk in the Ada Devroom. So we just hit everything at the same time and just get maximum cover. So if a person's avoids Ada Devroom because they're like, oh, it's an Ada Devroom, I don't want to be there. You go to their GUI and you'll see someone present, I don't know, like one Ada line where they're like, oh, Ada's being used for that? Wow, I don't know. And I think the key is don't necessarily put Ada in the title just to make it easier to just jump on them and trick them into listening to the talk.
What you say is a good point. There is the possibility of proposing an Ada Devroom for FOSDEM, and if we are not given an Ada Devroom, the people who are going to or were thinking about giving talks there, they could just move to another one. So we are not losing anything by proposing a Devroom. And if we had one, yes, people could give the same talk in two different Devrooms. However, there is this unspoken rule among organizers that since a lot of the speakers want to talk, to try to minimize duplication of information. Let's just put it that way. So not accepting the same talk twice or two similar talks in two different topics. In two different talks, but very similar ones in the same topic in two different Devrooms. So there is this unspoken, let's just be nice to each other rule. But yes, that is a good point. People could just propose things to the Ada Devroom. If it doesn't happen, then they could just easily go to other Devrooms. And as you say, they could add or take out the Ada part of the title if they want or not, to make it more generic, or for people to focus on the topic and then be presented by Ada, which is a nice sandwich, I would say.
Yeah, I know it's not like kosher under Europe, but let's face it, like it is like the language that keeps getting shunned and is picked on. So I think maybe if we do it once in a while, or like just play a little dirty, like they're playing dirty on Ada. So just do a little bit more just to get them to get other people exposed. And we don't want to do it every time, but try and get a duplicate presentation in other categories, even if it's an Ada Devroom, just or something similar.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the reason for me to bring this point about not having Ada specific conferences and workshops also relates to the state of the next point I'm going to present, and that's creation of the Ada User Society. I'll talk more about that in just a minute, but since it's related to the state of the Ada community in the US, in the United States, and generally outside of Europe, let's say, they don't have a specific workshops, or nowadays they don't have a specific workshops or conferences and things like that. So the movement towards giving Ada talks outside of the Ada community, it's basically a necessity for other, let's say, communities and continents. And I think it's good to encourage that kind of behavior. I mean, behavior, like idea. I don't want to be nasty about like the wording, but yeah. So for example, I know in the US there are a ton of very, very cool conferences, very similar in spirit to FOSDEM, such as California. I don't know. Actually, the one I'm remembering is the Asian one, FOS Asia, which is like FOSDEM, but in normally in like China or Vietnam. I don't remember. And you have different FOS conferences also in Australia, in the US. So getting Ada in those places would be very nice too, and not just, once again, only in a specific Ada communities. So that's just my take about it. Does anybody else want to share their opinion, their ideas, or we can move on if you want? So then let's move on into the next topic, which is that Ada Europe will be having the General Assembly next Tuesday, 24th of September at 6 o'clock, Central European Summer Time. So if you're part of Ada Europe, or either directly or indirectly through your own division, for example, I'm part of Ada Europe as part of Ada Spain, the General Assembly will be taking place this month in a couple of weeks. It's going to be, and the reason I'm bringing this topic is, first, Dirk is not here to remind us about this, but also because of something that some of you may not know, but in the past, a very important community in the Ada world was SIGAda, which is part of the ACM, which was part of ACM. So SIGAda stands for a Special Interest Group on Ada, and has been a very, very powerful SIG in, like, historically. However, in recent years, it has become smaller and smaller and smaller, and due to changes in the way ACM allows groups of people to have their own special interest groups, or the more generic one, which is known as SIGPlan, so the Special Interest Group for Programming Languages, SIGPlan. Due to the changes that have been taking place, SIGAda is no longer. It was dissolved. The webpage is still here, probably due to historical reasons, but the Ada community, especially in the US, as this was mostly a US group, has moved over to SIGPlan, so to the generic division, and that prompted the discussions in Ada Europe, as basically the de facto large group of general Ada programmers in the world, to discuss whether a new entity should be formed that wouldn't be just focused on Europe. As the name implies, Ada Europe is mostly focused on this region. And then if it would be best to have a global community, and that was called the I just said it, and the name just Ada User Society. Sorry, I just said it, and my brain just forgot about it. Sorry. So if whether it would be nice to have a global Ada User Society. So the 11th of July, I believe, I think this was somewhere in this document. I will tell you what this document is in just a second. But the 11th of June this year, Ada Europe got together to vote whether Ada Europe should push, should finance, should take care of the creation of this global Ada User Society. And after some discussions and backs and forths, it was approved. So the creation of the Ada User Society was approved by the Ada Europe board, and as part of that approval, Ada Europe had to do quite a bit of effort, had to put quite a bit of money and especially human resources, because you cannot just create a group of people, a new entity, and have nobody take care of it. So quite a few people from the Ada Europe board and now defunct SIGAda have gotten together and will spearhead this new Ada user society. Once again, the creation of the society was approved a couple of months ago. Everything is fairly fresh and new, and further discussions are going to be taking place in the General Assembly in the next couple of weeks. So that's why I'm bringing this to the attention of people. It's going to be an interesting General Assembly. So if you're part of Ada Europe, don't forget to if you want to attend, don't forget to ask for the connection link so that you can participate or listen to. And the document I was showing was the letter from the president of Ada Europe, and he basically talks about what has been taking place and happening. So and his proposal, etc., and conflicts of interest that could appear between Ada Europe, the new Ada User Society, etc., and the changes that will be taking place due to the new entity. So yeah, I think I voted in favor of this of the creation of the Ada User Society. Though it's true that we are in uncertain times and we still don't know if it will be a positive or a negative, if it will work or not. But I just wanted to point this out to everybody, especially if you are not from Europe, that a new user society is being created. It will have a membership tier, like if you pay a monthly, yearly fee. I think it's yearly. If you pay a yearly fee, you can be part of it. If not, it will also have a free, like just simple membership form that was part of like the conditions that were required if that society was going to take place. And I think it's good because once again, the biggest group of Ada users in the US basically got taken down. And now it gives a new home for the US people to have their own like nice place to be in, but also like Asia. I see Asia as this very rapidly an evolving market, and a lot of new powerful industries are growing up, and I think some of them could benefit from using Ada. And I think making sure that the Asian, let's say, division could also be more active or could easily have their own home thanks to the Ada User Society. I think that's a good idea. But that's about it from my side. That's all I wanted to present today. I don't know if you would like to discuss this last point, if you would like to share your points of view and opinions. Yes. And if not, if someone wants to say something as an extra topic, you can do so now. But I see there are some points regarding the Ada User Society. So Wesley?
Oh yeah, so I think I'm glad that I'm really happy that that's being done because it's just very important that Ada's sport, the Ada's sport or Ada's popularity in America is just not there, and it's just I really can't get our acts straight. I mean, it's just ridiculous that that it's just blowing up, and Ada's more popular in Europe, but like Ada was up in the U.S., but we're not. We moved away from it and for silly reasons, and so it's just an important situation. So I think any help to any help like that, I think is great. It's just we just can't seem to get our act straight in the U.S.
Kristen? You have your hand raised, Weston, so I don't know if you want to say something. You're muted, Weston, if you're trying to speak.
You are muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Wesley, for the point that you just brought up. Sorry for that. I said, Weston, if you would like to speak, and I was saying that you're muted, but the one muted was me. So yeah, sorry.
That was awkward. Okay, yeah. So I just want to make sure I understand. So all the people that were part of SIGAda that were then doing stuff under SIGplan, are they now all going to this Ada user society? So there's not going to be like a double effort, like overlapping efforts. They're all going to switch over to the Ada user society.
That is a really good question, and I don't know the answer. The group of having a SIG plan, being part of SIG plan is not a problem. Like Ada people can just be part of whatever groups they would like to be, whether it's SIG plan or this newer Ada user society. That's fine. What I do know is that for the European divisions, it was a condition that if you were already part of Ada Europe, you would automatically also be part, without extra cost, you would also be part of the newer Ada user society. But I don't know in what terms the older SIGAda people were left in. So I cannot answer your questions, but that question. But once again, the existence of SIGplan and Ada being part of that, and especially interest group, is not. It doesn't come into conflict with the newer Ada user society. But I don't know in what terms the older groups and the older SIGAda people would come into the newer Ada user society. Sorry.
So would there still be like an Ada Europe, and so
yes,
there be a separate, like,
yes. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a condition also, like for the time being, not for the time being, it wasn't even discussed. That the different European divisions would not be dissolved, and Ada Europe would not also be dissolved. Especially now, because Ada Europe has to be the one driving the effort to build up the new Ada user society. It's not a transfer. It's not a rebranding. It's literally creating something from scratch with the effort and funds from Ada Europe. So yeah. AJ?
So yeah, I'm from the USA, and every time there's something in Europe, I have to see if I'm able to like fly out there and stuff and schedule everything around all that. I did it with FOSDEM. I wasn't able to make it to Ada Europe for similar reasons, just because I'm so far away. I really like this idea, and I would absolutely want to be part of it. I'm kind of doing everything I can to try to raise awareness of Ada, and I've always wished there was some more in the US that I can kind of gravitate to, and I was like, lucky everybody, you guys have it in Europe, and we don't really have much over here, and now we don't have anything over here. So I was extremely excited when I heard about this, and all I can say is, I guess, sign me up and keep me posted, and I guess keep us posted, and I'd love to help with the effort to, I guess, get more awareness and active Ada community stuff in the USA.
Yeah, I think the US people are going to be the ones that are going to benefit the most, but not only. That's also an interesting point. That it won't only be focused on the US. It was prompted, the creation of this society was prompted because of the demise of SIGAda. But yeah. I'm also very happy about it. I have good hopes about it. Let's see where it ends. But yes, and also regarding information and keeping you updated, everything is fairly green. Everything is just getting started. But yes, I also want to make sure that whomever may have some interest gets at least some kind of information as soon as possible. Then Simon?
Hi, I wondered if people would be interested in the experiments I've been doing with RISC-V chips. Yeah. Well, I've been looking at two. There's the ESP32H2 from Espressif and the RP2350 from Raspberry Pi, which is tiny and cheap. Okay, well, simple steps. The compiler, not really a problem. The one you can get from Alire will work fine. You might have trouble with bin utils, but anyway, the compiler from Alire is fine. Working out how to load your executable into RAM, at any rate, rather than into Flash, into RAM is very easy. Well, you need, okay, there are things you have to follow to get it to work, but once you've done it, that's not a problem. Getting the clock working, not a problem. So let's have some easy steps with GPIO and twinkling the lights. That's fine. I can twinkle the lights, I can read the push button. What I can't do is get the darn thing to generate interrupts. Right. The chips are very complex. They've got all manner of things built into them. The providers, you have a C build system and lots of libraries to do all sorts of amazing things and documentation about them. And they both provide data sheets. But data sheets, it's not often clear how you're supposed to use them. It tells you, set this bit to do this, but it doesn't say when you should do that. And there are hints here, and we're all used to that, of course. So that is more or less where I'm stuck now. You read it and say, this is how you do an interrupt, and then you realise there's something else that you should have done. It's all too difficult. So just at the moment, if you don't want interrupts, it'll work fine. It'll twinkle lights, it'll do all sorts of stuff. But if you don't use interrupts, then there's not a lot else you're going to be able to do, I think. So I'm going to keep hacking on it. But, sorry, that's the wrong word, isn't it? I'm going to keep working on it, and I'll let you all know on Ada-IO what's going on.
Thanks for bringing that topic. I fully forgot about the new RP2350 chip. Just for those of you who are not aware, Raspberry Pi did launch a new chip, as Simon said, very inexpensive. And it's an interesting chip in the sense that it is both ARM and RISC-V, but not at the same time. So at boot, you have to select which kind of architecture you want to use. I've heard that the bootloader can actually detect what kinds of instructions the binary, the program that you're running will run, and it will automatically select the architecture, from what I've read. Nonetheless, there is this forum thread if you would like to keep yourselves updated regarding the existing work that Simon has been doing, which he just presented, and also Jeremy is hacking at it. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting chip. The RP, the older RP, which I believe it was like the 2240 or something like that, the previous chip from Raspberry Pi, was extremely popular, and people were using it for all sorts of things, and it has become like a new, modern, more powerful version of Arduino Uno when it first came out. It's more digital. It's not as analog as Arduino's. So yeah, it's a great, as Fabian says in this thread, it's a great improvement over the previous design. So very, very cool and very interesting chip. But as Simon pointed out, as they become more powerful and more capable and the architecture becomes more complex, the data sheets also become much more difficult to navigate and to use correctly. And from my experience, you mentioned the ESP32H. I have here behind me a ESP32C6, which is also a RISC-V ESP32 chip. And the way I've managed to get some things working is by literally just reading the C source code examples that they provided, going to their own libraries and reading how the C code actually did something, such as, for example, how to properly set up the UART to send some IO to the chip. I had to read this C source code and then write a similar flow in Ada. That is a difficult thing to do because with the documentation it should be enough to do it in Ada, but as Simon pointed it out, sometimes just getting something that should just work, like interrupts, it doesn't, and sometimes you just have to go to an example that makes it work and see how it does it. So that's from my side. Once again, if you're interested in these topics, please go into this thread. This link will be also part of the minutes of the meeting, or at least the summary of the topics covered. And thank you, Simon, for bringing it up, because I've seen the work that you've done, and it has been wonderful, and I'm very happy with it. And yeah, I completely forgot about it. So thank you. So that's all from my side. Yes, Kevin?
Is it too early to say how you think the risk compares to ARM chips, or do you prefer it, or?
It's really much too early for me, I think. I really don't have any. Well, okay, put it this way. The STN chips, I really didn't like the way the interrupts worked, but once you've used it, that's how they work, and that probably fits over all the range. But I don't. The thing is, RISC-V has this very, very simple basic interrupt architecture, and all external interrupts come down the same interrupt, and both. Well, that's how the basic architecture works, and both manufacturers obviously have to try and overcome this, because that's just not a natural way to deal. And I imagine that most RISC-V manufacturers will have their own way of dealing with interrupts. I mean, the physical architecture, the bits you have to flip, how you get multiple priority interrupts in, for example. So, that aside, I think they're both interesting chips to work with, and RISC-V, of course, is new to me.
Okay, good. Did you, I assume you've got the C develop ID and you're running through, and often what happens in the background with the interrupts. But
well, as Fernando said, you can't really rely on the data sheet, and so looking through the actual C code, which I was doing just yesterday on the interrupted front, is a source of some illumination, but it doesn't always work because you didn't see the thing over there, which is a problem. Anyway, it's early days yet, as far as I can see. Oh, someone asked me about do I still talk to the forums. Well, I sometimes feel I have to mention the word Ada, and there's a grand switch off at that point. People will tell you how to deal with the C-make environment, but they don't really want to know about someone who's right down in the bare metal. And perhaps they don't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't ask them, of course.
Then, are there more questions or topics? So I see Max is sharing his screen. So if you would like to go first, Max.
I would like to do a short announcement about embedded Ada stack. This is TCP stack made by Stefan, and it was created before Alire. We have Alire, and recently I found it, and I need TCP stack, not TCP, but IP stack for my home project. And I started to create Alire crate from it, and in result we have two crates. One is a target-dependent crate with core of IP stack, and another one is driver for STM32 chip. It's very simple. And if people need for your project TCP stack, this stack doesn't provide TCP, but it has IP, UDP part, DHCP client, and ARP. This is all working, and it's very easy to create another driver for your specific hardware. I know Jeremy started working on driver for another chip, but this work is in progress. I have a prototype for Linux TuneTap driver. This let me debug issue this network on my Linux machine. It's very handy, and because you don't need to flash your board, and you can get find more bugs in your native environment. And besides this, I created a small package for Ethernet session management. This is called, let me show, oops. Ethernet. It's also part of Alire. It provides, first of all, it provides Ethernet root package. So if you need namespace for Ethernet sub crates, you can get Ethernet, and you will get root package for name hierarchy in usernet. It also provides session management with small interface that allow you read and write Ethernet registers, and the driver in the crate works for STM32, so you can get, for instance, notification about link up and link down, and find full duplex or speed for your Ethernet connection. I find this very interesting because code base is very small and easy to understand. You are welcome if you need such thing. That's all.
Thank you, Max, for your work and for bringing more support to more hardware. And also, I know a lot of people are interested in like networking with Ada, but the networking packages and libraries and support that we have is mixed quality and availability. Let's put it that way. So thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions for Max? Then I'll add this project to the minutes of the meeting. And I saw that AJ had his hand also raised. So would you like to say something?
Yeah, so just a very quick note. There's a static website generator written in Ada called YAS, which stands for Yet Another Static Site Generator. And it's now in Alire. So you can actually just get it by just ALR get YASS, and it pulls it in. Basically, it's if you've ever used other ones like Jekyll and stuff, it can take like a website that's written in markdown files and convert it to an HTML site. You can set layouts and everything, and you can bring everything in. I put the URL in the chat. It's just yass.website, and you can just. I also posted it on the Ada forums as well. It's for a while now. It's only been available for a few platforms, but now you can. I got it working on everything. So, or everything that Alire can support, I guess. And I also published some releases for Mac OS, both the Apple Silicon and Intel version, as well as Windows and Linux. But I don't really have time for a demo right now, but maybe in the next meeting I can kind of go through how it works and everything if you're interested in exploring it further. But it's a pretty stable software. It's been around for a while now. I recently took over development, I guess about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years by now. Time flies, but yeah, I have some plans on. Right now, it uses the C library to convert it into Markdown, but I'm working on bringing that into like a full Ada solution using Ada's Markdown library. That Max has helped with a lot with that, and I also want to bring in the Ada compiler to be able, so you can write like modules, like Ada modules and plugins for it. So you can just have standard Ada, and then you can read those and compile those on the spot once generating the website and translating those. So it also supports AWS templates. So if you you can leverage those templates to create dynamic tables based on vectors that it's pulling in, and there's some extensive documentation on there. So I'm also working on a GitHub action to automatically take just like a repository that just has a YAS website project, and be able to convert it into a working website for the GitHub's IO website hosting solution. And that's actually GetAda.dev is currently a YAS project. So and YAS's website as well is a YAS project. So that's all I really have. You can check out the website, check out the topic on the forums if you want. It's pretty cool software.
Thank you for the news, and thanks to you and Max. I had forgotten that I wanted to also say that I had been working, well, not just me, but I had been working to try to bring WolfSSL to Alire. And since last week, there is now semi-official support for the WolfSSL cryptographic library with support for Alire. However, it's not in the index. If you would like to try it out, let me open the repo. So this is the WolfSSL repo. It has like a lot of certifications, and I know it's used by some high, let's say, quality safety critical systems that need some encryption support. And if you go into the repo, and if you go into the wrapper directory, you can find the Ada folder. And there you have the Alire manifest with the different GPR builds that you can do, and the different files for the library, and a couple of examples if you want to build it. Joachim, who you may remember from a few months ago, did a demonstration of his work here, and now basically what I've just done is to package it into Alire. However, once again, it's not still in the official Alire index, so you cannot just Alire get WolfSSL, and I'm trying to package it now. But it should be functional. So if you already need to use it, you can clone this and maybe pin it to your own like project if you want to use SSL, DTLS, etc. So yeah, and that's another announcement I had forgotten about. As you can see, there are quite a few announcements this month, mostly because of the time that has passed since the last one. But that's about it. And we've been talking for a bit more than an hour. I think that's a good time to start wrapping things up. No, Kevin, if you want to talk, you can talk. Yeah? We are not going to close on anybody. Oh, I suppose you wanted to do like a thumbs up, probably. So yeah, that's everything from my side this month. I hope to be able to host also October's meetup. Even though I have a lot of work, I think I should manage to make some time for that week. So yeah, I suppose we'll see each other's next month. So yeah, thank you. Then